Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something really fascinating. We are extracting universal survival and leadership lessons from some of the most highly competitive, high-stakes arenas you can possibly imagine. We're going to look at three very different battlegrounds. First, the incredibly grueling academic gauntlet of India's civil service exams. Second, the lightning-fast, high-pressure world of professional esports. And third, the gritty, ruthless political power struggles of rural India. Now, on the surface, these worlds seem completely disconnected, right? But as you'll see, they actually all share a hidden, unifying playbook. It's a framework for survival, adaptation, and ultimate success. So let's jump right in and uncover what it really takes to survive when the odds are completely stacked against you.
To really understand the stakes here, we have to start with the sheer, visceral tension of failure. I want you to imagine this: a dimly lit room, the hum of a failing ceiling fan, and the crushing weight of a father harshly labeling his own son a waste product. We see this exact raw, emotional tension in the competitive gaming world of Headshot. There's a young man named Sachin who is constantly berated for his seemingly impossible dreams of becoming a pro gamer. His father literally sees his efforts as a waste of money, a waste of sweat, and a waste of life. When your back is against the wall like that, and even your own family counts you out, how do you find the drive to keep going? That is the foundational question we are tackling today.
Okay, here's our quick roadmap for today's explainer. 1. The string and the kite. 2. The 1% focus. 3. The no plan B instinct. 4. Evolving your battle strategy. And finally, 5. Mentors never quit.
All right, let's dive into part 1, the string and the kite. This is all about guidance versus freedom.
We live in a world where everyone demands absolute freedom, right? But we often forget that pure freedom, without any direction, can lead to a spectacular crash. S.K. Sir uses this masterful analogy when talking to a frustrated father. He says, think about a kite. A kite does not magically fly on its own. It absolutely requires the tension of guidance, the string in the bracket. Without that tension, what happens? It doesn't soar, it just stoops down and crashes. Freedom without the anchor of a mentor isn't liberation, it's a free fall. The string isn't there to hold the kite back, you see. It's exactly what allows it to catch the wind in the first place.
Moving right along to Section 2, the 1% focus. This is where motivation actually lives.
So, how exactly do you handle impossible odds? Just look at the stark reality of the UPSC exams. 99% of aspirants will not make it. That is a massive number. If you fixate on that giant 99% slice, the failure rate, you've already lost the battle in your own mind. S.K. Sir points out that self-motivation requires a radical shift in perspective. That tiny 1% slice of success? That is where true motivation lives. You absolutely cannot let the overwhelming probability of failure blind you to the absolute possibility of success.
86,400. That is exactly how many seconds you have in a single day. In one really sharp exchange between aspirants, a student actually gets scolded for wasting just 16 seconds. Think about that. When you're fighting for that tiny 1% success rate, every single second is a valuable currency. You have to stop dwelling on past failures and start making the next 86,400 seconds count.
So, the absolutely crucial point is this. Whether you're looking at the grueling UPSC battlefields or the high-speed digital arenas of the Headshot 2026 talent hunt, the foundational rule of the game is persistence. Winning is great, sure, but not giving up is often way more important. In Headshot, we see gamers repeatedly knocked out, mocked as noobs, and sent right back to the lobby. But the ones who eventually break through, they are the ones who immediately load back into the game. Surviving the journey and simply refusing to leave things halfway is the ultimate prerequisite for victory.
Which brings us to part 3, the no plan B instinct. Let's talk about finding your killer instinct.
This instinct is forged by absolute existential necessity. Now, we often hear killer instinct associated with physical violence, but S.K. Sir redefines it brilliantly. He describes it as the relentless grit you see in the kids of farmers or auto rickshaw drivers who come to the big city to study. For them, quitting is simply not an option. They literally cannot afford to quit. Their goal is their one and only ticket to a better life. They don't have some comfortable safety net to fall back into, so they are forced to fight with a level of desperation and focus that others simply cannot match.
In the bustling coaching hubs of Old Rajindranagar, there's this really stark contrast. S.K. Sir compares students who have that killer instinct against those who come from immense privilege. Those with a safety net, the ones who know they can always fall back on their family's wealth or business, they often lack that do-or-die spirit. Because they have the option to do a million other things, they frequently end up doing nothing at all. They just lack the intense focus that comes from having absolutely no choice but to make Plan A work. Let's look at Section 4, Evolving Your Battle Strategy, Changing with the Times.
Raw instinct is great, but it has to be paired with external execution. Impartially looking at the gritty power dynamics in Bindya ke Bahubali, we see a fascinating clash of generations. The older generation built their entire empire on strongman violence, literally cutting off fingers and burning crops just to maintain dominance. But the era of raw brutality, it's facing a major crisis. A new relentless police DSP arrives, proving that the old tactics only invite total destruction. The established leader realizes that to maintain power, his strategy has to shift. This new strategy requires entering formal elections, wearing the mask of calculated leadership, and adapting to a world where sheer force is no longer going to cut it.
So here's how that strategic evolution actually breaks down. Step 1. You must recognize that the tactics that got you here won't get you there. Strong arming is totally obsolete. Step 2. You have to stop fighting the system from the outside, getting labeled as a criminal or a rebel. And step 3, you must enter the arena directly, in their case, running for MLA, to claim institutional leadership. Survival in any changing environment, whether we're talking about political warfare or just a shifting exam syllabus, means dynamically adapting your strategy with the times.
And that brings us to our final point, Part 5, Mentors Never Quit, the ultimate safety net.
We've talked a lot about the student's drive, but what about the person holding the string to the kite? Look, it's completely natural for a student to face setbacks. They're going to fail mock tests, they're going to lose esports matches, they're going to struggle to figure out their path. That is just a student struggle. But the ultimate failure isn't the student losing a match. The ultimate failure is when a parent, a teacher, or a mentor decides to completely give up on them. SK Sir bluntly tells a father who calls his own son a quitter, he quits on things, but you quit on him.
Think about it. Even a rigid, incredibly unforgiving institution like the UPSC exam gives candidates 6 attempts. 6! So how can a parent or a mentor just discard someone after a few early failures? A true guide stands by you, maintaining that string of guidance even when you are a player who simply hasn't found your game yet. You aren't a failure. You are just in the process of leveling up.
We've seen how the right tension, the focus on the 1%, a no plan B instinct, adaptable strategies, and a mentor who absolutely refuses to quit all forge an unstoppable mindset. So I want to leave you with this final, provocative challenge derived right from the wisdom of SK Sir. Stop running, face your battle. Who says you cannot pierce the sky? Try throwing a stone with all your might. Take what you've learned here today, find your 1%, and start making your next 86,400 seconds count.